Okay.
I'd like to call the Plaquemines Parish Council Audit Committee meeting for February 8th, 2024 to order at 9 o'clock a.m. Machines are open for roll call. Let the record reflect that 2 members are present. Mr. Jursich is recovering from surgery. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Mr. Duke, wait, hold on. Next item, please.
Item 2, new business, review of the baseball complex project internal audit.
All right, Mr. Duke, now you're up.
Good morning, Mr. Duke.
First I have a quick little statement, or a couple of statements to make about this audit before we proceed in looking at the findings or / observations. And the first one is some of the issues mentioned in this report.
Wait, Mr. Duke, can you zoom in?
I don't know.
The bottom right, you should have the plus sign right above that. Up a little bit, up and right.
Oh, yeah, I see it.
Yeah, not that far.
Is that good?
One more.
How about that?
Yeah, that's good right there.
Okay, some of the issues mentioned in this report could have been resolved before this audit committee meeting if Mr. Dugas, Mr. Burris, and Ms. Morrell had discussed this draft report with the auditor, replied to the auditor's emails on August 31st and September 5, 2023 in a timely manner, and submitted additional audit documents before issuing their official report comments on October 19, 2023. In addition, I want it to be noted and for the record, the auditor has completed over 50 audits for PPG. All the directors and all the management has followed this standard audit procedure. PPG submits additional documents. They discuss any issues that they have with the draft report before submitting their official comments to the auditor. Okay, so that takes care of my comments on that. And what I'd like to do next is review some documentation, some PDF files. The first one being the ordinance. Let's see if I can get that. I'm not sure. Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay. So during my audit, I reviewed this ordinance. And I compared this ordinance to the SRA transactions. And there was a couple of transactions that was mentioned during this audit. One transaction was an allegation came across my desk alleging that $300,000 was taken from the flood control department. During my review of that $300,000, I found no evidence that that had taken place. During my discussions with Mr. Dugas, there was another transaction or a couple of transactions that took place, or movements of monies that took place. One of them was approximately $75,000 that was used of public funds to do some repair work on the baseball complex. There was some movement of different funds, CDBG funds, from I think Building 201 and with the DA Building 203. And we'll get into that later. But as I reviewed the movement of these funds with this ordinance, there's no mention in this ordinance that allows for public funding to be used that I could find. However, it does state that SRA funds are prohibited from being used for non-approved SRA projects per FEMA guidelines. And it does allow for the transfer of funds between projects. So in my view, funds could have been transferred between projects if they needed these funds to do this repair work. That's where I was coming from. So that's just want to go through that real quick. The next item is, this is the a listing of the different projects. As you can see, the baseball project, and you can see the amount and the expenses to date. I just wanted to mention that. Administrative buildings 102, 100, street light, et cetera. We can go through that later if y'all care to. This here is the PO on that $75,000 approximately that we were discussing, $75,000 of repair work for the baseball complex. Really, it was $74,780. Yes, the PO was approved by Brenda. Okay, so, and then the next one is, this here is the,
Flip it on the top.
yeah, where is that?
In the middle, right there. Whoop, whoop, to your right.
Yeah, here we go. Okay, so this is the approval. As we talk about approval, I'm used to seeing approvals on invoices, but this apparently is being taken as an approval. This is from Scott Roussel, the prior director of the Flood Control Department. And this is sent to Ken Dugas, the director of engineering. Good morning. I will find the funding for this project. Can your department obtain 3 quotes? Then we go down a little ways and we say, Scott, if we don't have the funds, you need to be prepared to dedicate flood control personnel and equipment soon. We haven't ordered boxes without knowing if we could contract this out. I need a decision if we're going to find money, or install in-house. All right, so that takes care of that. And this here is this is the PO concerning here we go. That's weird. This is the PO concerning the movement of CDBG funds with, building 102 and the DA building. And of course, this PO, it's kind of confusing, but it is the PO. Says PPG Council Building 203, approved by Brenda. All right, so as we go along, I just want to quickly go through these as best I can because they're going to come up when I review the report. I'm not trying to waste time. Not sure why it's not working. All right, maybe it's working now. Here we go. I'm going to have to use open, it looks like. This here is an opinion that I received from Mr. Burris on October 19th, 2023, after he submitted his comments to me. Okay, this opinion 100156, I've never seen it before. Since my tenure here, starting in 2017, this has never come up. We've always used the parish ordinance for professional service contracts. Okay, so I don't know, but we'll get into this at a later date. Okay, and here's something I just wanted to kind of go through again. And I'm going to go through this again too, concerning professional services. The Louisiana Legislative Auditor's best practice. Although Louisiana public bid law does not require services to be bid, A competitive atmosphere ensures that fees paid for services are cost-effective. Therefore, management is to use a dollar threshold contained in the public bid law as a guide in contracting for services. At least 3 telephone or facsimile quotations are to be obtained for services costing $10,000 to $30,000, and bids should be solicited and obtained for services exceeding $30,000. Any exception to this policy should be approved by the board of the council. And we'll probably revisit this as we go through. Okay, so that is the opinion. Let's see, open this one. Okay, so this here is interesting because Mr. Dugas and Mr. Burris has stated that they gave me all the insurance certificates. And this insurance certificate, which was given to me on October 19th, 2023, was dated 8/31/2023, and I never received this, never have seen it before until October 19th. Okay, so that takes care of that. This is one that really needs to be discussed. This is my email to Ms. Morrell concerning access to records. And I'm saying, hello, Ms. Morrell. Is there a New World report that I can run that will provide the funding and expenditures for the baseball complex for the period from February 22nd, 18 to August 7th, 2023? Her reply is, there will not be a report that just breaks out the quad expenditures. And since the PW is combined for SRA projects, our project number is blah, 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 and is named FEMA Sierra Consolidated. You might be able to run a project transaction report and see if it looks like any quad expenditures, but I doubt it. If that is the case, since you want to go back to 2018. This is not normally the case, since normally the PWs are for certain projects, but for some reason, FEMA grouped all these together. And we'll get to this and why this was so misleading and led me to believe that I couldn't get the information from finance. Let's see. And this here is my request for additional information from Mr. Dugas and Mr. Jen Nielsen of Also. This is on August 31st. Please provide Berdal Gray's contract and payment documentation. Berdal Gray's contract of $458,795.58. Berdal Graves at $31,450. Please provide Cost Brothers contract and payment documentation. Cost Brothers $245,920.80. Thanks for your help. And this is an email that I sent on the 5th, but way before I submitted my comments to Mr. Burris. Way before. Okay, when you have a moment, please provide the following. Baseball complex project expense documents for Berdal Grays and the Cost Brothers expenditures. Please provide bid documents to for Periscope and Meyer Engineering and Berdal Grays and Cost Brothers. Please provide current and insurance information for the contractors listed below. Every one of these that they sent me had expired, so I was concerned about the expiration date, and I wanted confirmation from them that everything was okay and that we had insurance in place. This is something that I do all the time with all my audits, and I've never had pushback on this like I had this time. They always sent me an email saying, Randy, we confirm that our insurance is in place and is current. If you're lacking any certificates, tell me what they are, we'll send them to you. And as I mentioned to you earlier, that insurance document that I showed you was not submitted to me. And I was trying to get that document or all the documents that were outstanding for my audit so I could do my work, so I could confirm my work and my audit objectives. Okay, that's that. Okay, so, and let's go take a look at this here. If we take a look at all of this information that I was trying to confirm, and I was able to confirm most all of it, and except for, if you reach down here, except for Burdall Grays, and it says contract right next to it. And I asked for the contract, and I didn't get it. And I asked for that information, and I couldn't obtain it. Myers Engineering, I asked for bid documents on that, and I'll show you what they sent me in a few seconds. Koss Brothers, I asked for bid documents on that, and there was apparently no bid, or I don't know, it's an open file or something like that. So, okay, open file. I have done this work for a long time, and the directors have always had in their files documentation for everything for all their expenses, funding, or project costs. That's all documented in the file. Whether they sent it to finance or not, it's in their files to back up what they've sent to finance. So, that being said, that's it, so. All right, so let's see where I'm not sure where I left off here. Okay, this is something that I wanted to show. This is what I received concerning the bid process from Meyer Engineering. A sign-in sheet is all I got. I was asking for additional information in my emails, and I got none. Let's take a look at Periscope. This is what they sent me for Periscope. This, I looked at it and I said, I don't know what this is. It also says to be awarded bids. I don't know what that means. So I sent them an email requesting information. They don't answer it, but they do try to answer it in their comments. They answer my emails in their comments. But if they answer the emails before I put out my report, I can change up my report, and I don't have to put that in my report. Or if they contact me before they send me their official comments, which gives them from the period of September 19th when I put out the draft report, all the way to October 19th when they put out their comments. We had all that time for them to contact me and say, Randy, wait a second here. We've got some issues with this report. Let's sit down and look at this and see what's going on. Nothing happened. And let me tell you this, too. I've worked with a lot of CEOs, and I'm not blasting anybody, but let me tell you, all the CEOs I've worked with, if they saw a report like this, the first thing they're going to say is, you guys get together with Randy, get together with the auditor, and find out what the hell's going on. Okay? All right, there we go then. So now and there's another thing too. I like running reports out of New World. Since I've been here, I've run my own reports out of New World. I enjoy doing it. Most auditors don't do that. Most auditors request reports from finance, and they require them to send them to them. Like, okay, give me this information, give me that. That's what they do. And finance is the expert on New World. They're the experts, not me, not anybody else. So if I want information from finance and I can't get it on my system, they ought to at least try to get me the report like they have done in the past, or call me up and say, Randy, what's going on? Can we help you? None of that. All right, that being said, I think just try to keep in mind those documents as we go through this. Okay, funding, observation number 1. There appears to be SRIA and CDB funding movements that could be in violation of Paris Ordinance number 1820. The movement of $75,000 from the Flood Control Department to the baseball complex could be in violation of Parish Ordinance number 1820. The auditor received an allegation that $300,000 was moved from the Flood Control Department and used in the baseball complex project. That could be in violation of Parish Ordinance 1820. The second one, observation number 2. It appears that the internal controls, such as Parish Ordinance 1820, Parish Ordinance 01601, bid process, and parish internal controls over current insurance coverage may not be working properly. Number 3, baseball complex project funding and expense data was not available, for me anyway, in the New World Accounting System for an independent audit review. Some vendor expense payment documents were requested from management, but management did not submit these records. Management should document why Meyer Engineering limited expenses. And $454,436 did not agree with the contract cost of $298,937. Management should document and review possible duplicate payments from Meyer Engineering. And those 2 items we'll get to when we review Ms. Morell's comments. The auditor requested baseball project expense documents. Burdall Grays, Cass Brothers, management did not submit these expense documents to the auditor. And what I'm saying here is when management does not answer my emails in a timely manner, that can result in an audit scope issue because I cannot do my work. I cannot do my audit, cannot fulfill my audit objectives. And so, bid process, object now observation number 4, could be a violation of Parent Ordinance 01161, Section 1 and 2. The auditor requested vendor contracts and bid documents for Periscope, Meyer Engineering, Burdall Grays, and Cass Brothers, but management did not submit these documents to the auditor for audit review. When management does not pay attention to the auditor and does not submit documents as requested, there could be a scope limitation which prevents the auditor from fulfilling his audit objectives and doing his work in a timely manner. And it also messes up my report because I'm putting out a draft report from, on September 19th. I had all this information, or at least some answers to my emails, been provided. That report probably would have changed a little bit before I sent it out, and I would have sent out a revised draft. And I can tell you this, I just completed a while back an audit report on employee expenses. And there was 2 expenses on that report that slipped through the cracks. And guess what? The Director of Administration contacted me way before she sent out her comments and said, Randy, can we sit down and look at this? I think I have additional information for you, and we need to possibly change up the report. I said, sure, let's do it. We got together. She came to my office, reviewed it. I said, you were right. I revised my report. I sent a revised report to her. She looked it over, emailed me back and said, Randy, this is fine. And then I sent out the final report. That's how this is supposed to work, and that's how it works with all audit shops throughout the whole world. Observation number 5, management should be concerned and document the reason why the baseball complex project has taken such a significant amount of time to complete. Fraud, waste, and abuse. The audit cannot issue an opinion on the possible level of fraud, waste, and abuse in the baseball complex. And some of the controls were not working properly, and that to me at that point in time that was a scope limitation. And I'm not going to have somebody come back and review my work and say, okay, Randy, you didn't get this, you didn't get that. Why did you why did you place an opinion on this? That's what they would do to me. And so I wasn't going to do it. Insurance, contractor insurance should be current. I needed all the certificates to reach the conclusion everything was current. So that being said, let's take a look at their comments. Their comments are this, okay, on observation number 1. This is concerning the flood control department funds, $75,000 that I believe public funds that it could have been done differently, I think. Parish ordinance again states that our SRA funds are prohibited from being used for non-approved SRA projects per FEMA guidelines. It does allow for the transfer of funds between SRA projects. Okay, so I said there could be a possible commingling, and if we look at one thing too, this is what I received from Mr. Dugas. The DA Building 201 was an approved SRA project, but was funded with CDBG funds. The council building, which CBG funds, I guess that's public funds, you know. The council building 203 project was approved for both SRA and CBG funding. To award the DA Building 201, PPG administration moved $300,000 CDBG funding from Council Building 203 and put it toward the DA Building 201. $300,000 in CDBG funds that was removed from the Council Building 203 was replaced by moving $300,000 SRA money from the baseball complex to Building 203. One of the most confusing transactions I've seen in a while. But anyway. So anyway, they're stating here, see the attached PO sheet for CDV Services Construction Contract. Each line item is coded. Subgrant verifies the entirety of the contract. There's no mention of $300,000 flood going to flood control. I agree with that. Bread Brothers Construction was hired by Quote to complete the drainage installation that was removed from the CDW's scope, which was the contractor's scope. This culvert and catch basin installation was tasked to PPG due to workforce issues. Scott Roussel sent it they got it with Scott and they got it approved. Normally I see approvals on invoices, but that's beside the point, I guess. Department operating budget can be used for, this is interesting, department operating budgets can be used for professional services with administrative approval. Okay. Bow Brothers PO attached for reference. Also included PO sheets for the council building and DA building projects. We looked at those. This is they're saying that okay, so this was applied budget for council building, which was DA. All right, parish attorney says, to my knowledge, $300,000 funding was never moved from the flood control department to the baseball project. I agree. It doesn't look, I don't understand what that allegation was all about, but it did, I had to look into it. $75,000 was used for the flood control department, came from budgeted operating funds within the flood control. Therefore, council approval is not needed. So what we're saying here is that the council doesn't have any oversight over these expenditures. To me, that's an issue, but that's just the way it is, I guess. The issue here is it really doesn't make any difference if it was $75,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, maybe even $1 million. This money could have been taken at their discretion from the flood control department and used for the baseball complex. I don't know if you all find that an issue, but that's just the way it is. And the parish attorney says he sees no legal issues with this transaction whatsoever. Number 2. Oops. This is basically, I'm saying here that management should monitor internal controls that are in place, such as laws, regulation, make sure they're working properly. Parish attorney says, once again, the ordinance did not restrict the use of other funds to support the project. Then he goes on to quote this opinion. This Attorney General opinion, which is the first time I've seen it. And I've read it over, and I've looked at it. Probably need to get another another attorney, independent attorney, to read over this. But in my opinion, it does not prevent the council from setting policy for the bid process under ordinance number 01161, and from using the LLA best practice for professional services. As I read to you earlier, I read it to you again, best practice from LLA, Louisiana Legislative Auditors. Although the Louisiana bid law does not require service to be bid, the competitive atmosphere ensures that fees paid for service are cost effective. Therefore, management has used dollar thresholds contained in the public bid law as a guide for contracting services. At least 3 telephone and fixed quotations should be obtained, service between 10 and 30, and bids should be obtained, RFP, for anything exceeding 30,000. Okay. So that's my opinion on that. Then he goes down to talk about all insurances were up to date. That would have been nice for him to tell me this earlier. The auditor could have found this in the files had he reviewed the engineering, but have provided, again, by engineering to this response. Interesting. My comment on that is Mr. Burris is incorrect. The Accord Liability Insurance Certificate dated 8/31/23 was not sent to the auditor in the original files received in June of 2023. Mr. Burris could have provided this insurance document to the auditor in a timely manner before submitting his official comments on October 19th, 2023. Mr. Burris could have provided it. And also Mr. Dugas could have replied to my email of September 25th, 2023, requesting and confirming insurance coverage was current. Could have sent that to me in a timely manner. September 5th was what? 10, 11, 12, 14 days before I sent out my draft report. This wouldn't even be an issue right now. We wouldn't be wasting your time, my time, or the citizens' time with some of this stuff. All right, so number 3. This is concerning the email that I read to you on August 7th, 2023. It was very misleading. It caused the auditor to make the wrong assumption that the baseball complex funding expense data was not presented in the New World system in a format the auditor could use to achieve his audit objectives. Ms. Morrell should have contacted the auditor as soon as she saw this report about this misunderstanding before submitting her comments on October 19th. It could have been resolved earlier. I could have got the information I needed. We would have revised the report, everything, and we wouldn't be discussing this issue right now. Ms. Morrell should have contacted the auditor about a duplicate payment control in the New World system. That's something, unless I'm a programmer, I wouldn't have known about, or unless, that's what I'm saying, they're the experts on this. That prevents duplicate payments from being made before submitting her comments. And Mr. Dugas should have contacted me to confirm these questionable expenses were not duplicate payments before submitting his comments. Engineering states here that there's a difference between the Meyer contract and expense payments, $454,436.49, and the contract cost of $298,937. And he also states the auditor could have determined this for himself had he closely reviewed the certificates of payment and invoices that were submitted and paid, which was part of the project file. Here again, Mr. Dugas, like all other directors have done with me in the past, could have easily called me up and reconciled this expense data with me before submitting his comments. Parish attorney states that the administration rejects the auditor's conclusion audit involved a scope limitation. Had Mr. Burris contacted the auditor regarding the scope limitation, I would have told him my thinking. Had Mr. Dugas replied to my emails on August 31st and September 5th, requesting additional information in a timely manner, this scope limitation probably would have been non-existent. On number 4, the bid process and contracts. Berthold, Graves, Contracts, and Koss Brothers, he states in their comments that are not there. The reason I didn't get this information is because it's part of an open file contract, which is why the information was omitted from the internal auditor's original request response. All they had to do was answer my email, maybe use this to answer my email. This would have been a great answer. I might have accepted this if they would have just put this into an email and responded to me. Meyer Engineering they go on to say, give me some more information about the RFP process. Was selected from professional engineering, architectural, construction services RFP solicited in 2019. RFP submitted. Mr. Dugas submitted a sign-in sheet on June 12th of 2023. That's not enough. He could have replied to my email. He could have provided this additional information to me on September 5th, a day after or something like that. And also, too, Mr. Dugas is under the impression that I was asking for the Myers contract, which I didn't ask for. That was in his original information he gave me on June 12th. I didn't ask for that. So it leads me to believe that they're not reading my report thoroughly. They're not reading especially Section 5 that details, and let's take a look at Section 5 while we're at it. This Section 5, whoops.
No. Unless you want reason.
Yeah, this Section 5 is the analysis of all the information that they sent to me in June, every bit of it. And I even got some additional information. Talks about the cost reimbursement basis of accounting. Talks about the bank accounts. The finance department, there again. Construction costs, vendor purchase orders that I went through, approvals that I looked at, funding and expenses that I looked at. Here's a situation where I asked them to respond to 2 questionable transactions. 2 questionable transactions. And guess what they did? They responded and gave me the information. But for the duplicate information, those questionable expenses, they wanted to make a big deal out of it, which is all I needed was a simple confirmation. Allstate, and we go on and on with this. This is all everything. And if you look at, I reviewed in detail everything they sent to me, which is what I do with every audit. And here is, the auditor reviewed the Meyer Limited Professional Service Agreement with Plaquemines Parish Government. I reviewed it. The execution signatures and dates were good. So what he's telling me in his comments that he's saying I didn't even that I didn't even get it, and I'm asking for it again, which tells me he didn't even read this stuff. Okay, number 5, I have no comments on number 5. There's a lot of issues with change orders and whatnot. And I can understand that, but it did seem to me that another auditor could come in here, take a look at how long this project took, and make a big deal out of it, which I kind of wanted to make sure they had it documented, is basically all I was trying to do. See if I can get back to it. Number 5, and I kind of agree with this. Number 5, efficiency, inclusive of approved change orders, CD services, completed the project within the allotted time, justification for each change order, time exclusion is shown, etc. Plaquemines Parish Government is given dozens of products. I understand this. I don't have any issues with this. I just wanted to, in case I do know how other auditors do, and I was just trying to say, look, if another auditor comes in and questions that, maybe y'all could be ready for it. Who knows? Fraud, waste, and abuse. This is a situation, again, where, all we had to do with this, was Mr. Burris should have just picked up the phone, I'm always in my office, and talked to me about this, we could have come to an easily agreement and talked this out. And if Mr. Dukas had replied to my emails of the 31st and September 5th, none of this would have probably been in the report. We have probably sent a revised report. And on number 7, all I'm asking is, and I've asked this on every audit I've been on, please let's verify the insurance is up to date. And that's all they had to do with number 5, is just answer my email on September 5th. All right, that concludes my,
All right, Mr. Duke. Do you have availability later this morning? We have a ceremony that we had to go to for 10 o'clock. Can we recess and come back in 1 hour? Because we have lots of questions. Well, he's finished, but we got questions that are going to take at least 20, 30 minutes. So are you okay if we recess for 1 hour, come back at 10:45 and wrap this up?
Yeah.
Since there's no public here.
I definitely want to wrap it up for sure.
Yeah. So,
I'll leave my stuff
and
here. We'll
I
get together.
check with Ms. Toops. That's okay if we just recess and come back in 1 hour. So we'll recess into 10:45, and we'll come back and follow up. If you want to leave your stuff, they're going to lock the doors and everything. If you want to leave your stuff, we'll be back at 10:45.
I better use my finger.
We'll come out of recess for the Internal Audit Committee at 10:37 a.m. At this time, were you done with all your observations, Mr. Duke?
Here I am.
All right. Mr. Newsom, you have any? All right. So
Not at this time.
I got some questions. I got to get back to the beginning. So for the flood control, the 75,000, I know you stated some concerns being able to move it to the quad, but then you said it could have been 75,000, 300,000, 1.5. But is there any difference if it's a drainage issue than if a pothole in my district fell apart and they had money in their budget? Would that not be allowed?
Well, I think the issue is
Speak
that
into the mic.
the issue would be that this is a FEMA contract.
Okay.
That's the issue. And I have reviewed a lot of FEMA contracts over the years, especially after the storm. I've never seen public funds being used for a FEMA contract, ever. They've always come in within budget.
Okay. Coming in budget with the original budget, and I can see where, I mean, in theory, the moving $300,000 from this building to the DA building and then replenishing that then would automatically mean that the budget is short $300,000. So them spending $75,000 of public funds wouldn't put them over budget technically because they were short through other ways. Not saying we'll get to that in a second, but so it's not so much a control issue because it's within their flood controls budget, but you were saying because it's a FEMA contract and okay.
And also, too, I thought, I mean, I guess it's not real clear, but I kept reading this over and over again. And I guess I got into the weeds, but still, I still have the same view. When I read this, Parish Ordinance number 1820 states that although SRIA funds are prohibited from being used for non-approved SRA projects per FEMA guidelines, it does allow for the transfer of funds between projects.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's pretty clear. And okay, so I needed $75,000 to do some work. Can I get it from another project? And if I can't, that's the issue. If I can't do it, that's the issue.
Okay.
But this is,
In
a
regards.
lot of ordinances are not clear.
Yeah. I'll let you. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Duke, this is a very lengthy report, so evidently a lot of work went into it, and thank you for it, because
Appreciate it.
because that's the goal of this, of what you do is to let us know where we have strengths and weaknesses, and if we need to tighten up on our weaknesses, of course, we need to do that. I know you referenced some New World type of, is that, what is, explain?
World is the accounting system that's used by the parish.
Do you have enough access to that to get,
In most cases, I do.
Okay.
In most cases, I run my reports on my own. In some cases, I ask the finance department to run them for me. In this situation, I could not get it on my system.
you couldn't get it on your system?
Couldn't get the
Okay.
information I needed on my system. So,
So that's
it was
it
was a misunderstanding, which doesn't happen so often, but between me and Miss Morrell. If
Yeah,
you-
okay.
If you read her email,
Yeah, I saw the one you
it's
sent.
pretty clear. She was saying, hey, look, Randy, you can't get this information.
And I don't know, I'll have to speak, we'll speak with Ms. Morrell about that later. Are there any other systems that you would need access to do an audit like this that you do not have, 'cause that we can have?
New World does have everything in it that I need.
Because we want to be, open and transparent with everything, I'm sure that, and I know, I know the whatever it is, the finance, administration, engineering, they all want to be upfront and open too. I really think that the goal is not to hide anything, and I'm not saying that nobody is doing that. I'm just saying it's about a work together and work in partnership to try to get this common goal, and let's, like I said, because this project started before our current administration, before our current council, so it's a lengthy time and project. So I'm sure there were some things that probably got either misplaced or whatever. I don't know the definite, that when it takes that long to get a project. But that's all my question was, is to make sure you have access to what you need access to do what we ask you to do. So with that, thank you.
All right, so I'm going to go on to the next one where Mr. Burris cites the Attorney General opinion.
Yeah.
So did they do an RFP for the professional services? Like you were saying that the parish president had, or he cited where the parish president can select the professional services, and that's the part he seems to highlight in his,
What it says,
so, but did they do an RFP at all or RFQ at all for this project, or did they just,
they did do it on this project.
okay, and were you given those documents, besides the sign-in sheet, were you given the actual proposals by any of the firms that submitted?
Yes, if you take a look at my analysis on Section 5,
What page, Mr. Duke?
I'll tell you in a sec. Section 5, let's go down to where I talk about that. All right, bid advertisement, I think it starts on 23.
Yes.
All right, there was a public bid advertisement for bid notification for the baseball complex project. And this happened in May 18 and May 25, June 1, 21. CD Services LLC, they submitted their Louisiana Uniform Public Bid Form, Certificate of Authority of Limited Liability, a letter dated June 15, 2021, a bid bond form, and insurance coverage. The auditor did not find the qualifications document that normally has been submitted. The base bid was $5,149,100. But overall, CDW, I think, did the work and bid it correctly. Dura Heavy Construction submitted the same information, but there again, there was no qualification document that I could find. But I still think they did the work. Periscope, this was information I was trying to get from them because I didn't know what Periscope was. So I asked for the supporting document showing any bid selection, and, they came back with telling me that, this was not even a contract, et cetera. Bid tabulation form. There was a tabulation form submitted for the bid selection process, which is good. It appears that CW Services LLC was chosen to do the work after the bid tabulation was approved. Meyer Engineering Limited. Now, this is where I didn't get the proper information. Now, they tried to give me the information, some additional information, in their comments on October 19th. But all I got from them on this particular item was a sign-in sheet, and that is not enough. And it's not enough based on what was given to me for heavy construction, Dura Heavy Construction, and CDW Services. And also, Periscope, again, there would be no bid for that, but I needed to know that there was no bid for that.
Yeah, well, Periscope, if my understanding and research and experience, I think Periscope is bid sync.
Yes.
Basically, and they basically receive a fee. So they're not really part of the bid. It's just a fee.
I agree.
So,
I asked them for information on that. They
okay,
didn't supply it.
okay.
If you take a look at my September 5th email, I said, look, what's going on with Periscope? Give me the bid information. That was September 5th before I issued my comments,
Okay.
right? My recommendations. I mean, all they had to do was tell me that information. It wouldn't be so hard.
Yeah. All right. Okay, to the insurance document, I want to make sure, because I'm looking at what you gave us, and you saying it's dated August 30th, 2023.
Right.
So do we have, because by this, by this point, August 23, the quad was open by that point because we played on it for baseball in May and June. So what you're saying is we didn't get anything, insurance for the actual period of the contract?
Right. And they sent that to me along with his comments,
Okay.
okay, saying that they had already sent it to me in the June information, and they had not.
Okay. Let's see. Let me get to my next question. All right. In one of the responses where you cite title Louisiana Revised Statute 39,
Yes.
looking at Revised Statute 39, that's for state, and that's what?
I meant to get into that. Thank you.
Okay. And Mr. Burris is saying that we're supposed to follow Title 38, which is public contracts, and then state.
It's fine, but I do think that 39 should be adopted.
Well, looking at 39, it's clearly state contracts.
Yeah.
And 39 is dealing with
Yeah.
state contracts and the Division of Administration at the state level. So
Right.
I'll have to get with Mr. Burris, or Public Finance and State Finances, looking at Title 39. So I'll have to get with Mr. Burris and see if we need to adopt any parts of that. But,
Other parishes do use that.
okay. My main, I guess, concern, and I want verification, is what you're saying is the DA building basically needed $300,000. They took it from this building, which was a SRIA approved project. They moved it to the DA, the certain CDBG funds, to the DA's building, and took it $300,000 from the quad. Now, is it legal? Yeah, because I've seen it done elsewhere. Is it the right thing?
No.
Probably not. I did look at our audit from 2022, external audit, and this 973036, which is this grant, was a major program, and they found no findings from the external auditors related to this. Again, is it legal? Yes. Is it one of those things? So we might need to create a policy where we're not moving some funds like that, where we're not taking from one grant to another, because
Yes, it's too confusing.
the quad, again, this was before our administration, before this parish president, council, all that. And again, it was legal, but one of the main complaints we got during baseball season last year is the quad could use many more improvements that was originally in the scope of the work, but because of shortcomings in the budget, did not get done. So we're trying to now fix those problems, but if we had a policy possibly in place where we don't do it, again, FEMA, I know FEMA projects, I've audited them as an external auditor. It's a mess with FEMA projects. So, again, you can do it. It's just maybe we need to tighten down our policy on that.
I agree with you, sir. That'd be very.
And how that works, I don't know. We might have to get all in, Ms. Morrell, you, myself, legal, all in one room to figure out what we can do on a policy standpoint. Again, it's one of those things that, looking at the audit, besides communication and providing stuff, there was nothing wrong with the audit per se. It's just a cleanup that we need to do within our own policy. What I would like to do, because again, we have 6 new council members, new parish president. If it's okay with you, at some point in the near future, myself, you, President Hinckley, Mr. Burris, and Ms. Morrell sit down and go through expectations, who's to provide what access you have, and all that. That way, for future audits, because I think this is only the second or third audit under the new administration. So that way, because we still have 3 more years.
I think it's the third.
Third, yeah. So this is the third audit, and I think one was already in progress so this is really 2.5, I guess you'll say. So that way, going forward for the next 3 years, we have a good expectation, good working relationship between council, administration, and internal audit.
That's huge.
So I'll talk to Mr. Hinckley and get that set up. And maybe in that meeting, we could talk about some of these findings, because again, we have some issues. I don't want to say problems, some issues that we need to clean up where this doesn't happen again. Again, no laws were broken, no findings outright that were wrong, like you did this wrong. I think we need to clean up, better communication, make sure if you request an RFP file, basically you can go over to, I know from my experience as an external auditor, they give me access to all their files or their software. I go look at it, but if I need to see a certain bid document, they hand me a huge folder. Here you go. Here's all the information on that bid. So make sure that you get all that and you can go through everything that you need without interruption or anything like that. So,
That sounds really good.
yeah, so I'll talk to Mr. Hinckley, and I'm going to be busy next week, but probably the following week we'll set something up. And you have any other comments you would like to make? But like I said, it's one of those things that things change with new administration and new council. So at this point, this whole audit committee is all per se 1 year in on their term. So it's a completely new audit committee. So I'll set that up. We'll go through this. And while we're there, where we can clean up some of our policies and stuff possibly, and we'll go move forward. And then I guess next item on the agenda. Oh, wait, hold on. Go ahead.
You good? Okay, agenda item 3, audits in progress, Waterworks internal audit.
I am working on that.
Okay. Go ahead.
So we just went through this lengthy, there any issues we can basically cut off at the pass on this audit so we don't have to,
Communication.
communication-wise, reports-wise? So I know you're probably early into it,
Well, here's the deal too. And
that we can help you
I
help.
don't think I'm going to say anything at this point.
Okay.
But I do want to have a meeting with Waterworks, before I send out my draft report.
Okay.
And I have asked them for that meeting, and, I understand they're very busy. So they haven't gotten back to me yet, but I'm hoping they will get back.
Well, I think we can get with Mr. DeMarco and
Yeah.
maybe facilitate a meeting for you. We'll get with, with when Waterworks, again, has time. And you did bring up a good point, everybody has limited bandwidth, limited resources, we limited personnel. So, a lot of folks are doing work, and then so they stay pretty busy. Their day schedule's pretty busy. But no, if you need some help and anything, please reach out to the chairman, Mr. Schultz, or myself, and we can facilitate some help with that. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
About how close are you on that?
Well, I've gone through all their documents.
Okay.
So what I need to do next is get together with them.
Okay. I guess we'll talk to Jeff this afternoon and see about setting something up next week or early the following week, depending on probably the early following week with Mardi Gras. A lot of people take off. So early the following week, that way we can knock that out, because I want to get you started on that next audit. That way we can get that one moving as soon as possible. You got any other comments? All right. You got any other comments, Mr. Duke?
Item 4, approval of the minutes from the July 17th, 2023 meeting.
Second.
Wait, where am I going? Yes.
Passes 2-0 with Mr. Jurcic absent. Make a motion to adjourn. Second. And we're passes 2-0. Adjournment is at 10:58 a.m. Thank you, Mr. Duke.